Welcome to the Winners and Losers Show. Hello, everybody. My name is Hank Thompson. I'm the host of the show. I'm going to be the host of the show until all the 100% chocolate bits are vacuumed out of the carpeting next to my bed and desk chair because I've been eating. Okay, all right. That's the plan. Got to do some cleaning, I guess, is maybe where that one came from. I don't know. You can probably tell by the quality of those. I'm going to be the host of the show untils. I don't think of them ahead of time. I feel like that's not only the charm, but also the shield I can hide behind because they mostly suck. It's a terrible way to start a podcast. Trying to reach new listeners, trying to gain an audience, and I start out with proving how not creative or funny I am. So, brilliant. Anyway, moving on. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome, one and all, tall and small, thick and wide, thin and skinny. So you're all doing great, everybody. How's it feeling to live in a world that finally makes sense? Finally, the midterms are over. It's been a week since then. Man, what a weird week. But finally, we have we're returned to normal. Everything's fine. We can go back to building bridges to the 21st century, like we've always intended to do. We just need solutions. Real, everyday problem solving. It's the only thing we need. And we're going to get it now that half of 1/3 of the government is under the control of corporate Democrats. Again. Welcome to the miserable past. It's just going to be a lot. It's going to be like a lot hotter version of the 90s, essentially. And then all the electricity is going to go out, and we're all going to desperately scramble and get over our phone addiction. That's going to be the first step in the apocalypse. But there'll be chargers and batteries, but eventually the batteries will be used up as sock weapons. Well, I guess actually once they're used up, they could become sock weapons. So maybe going to prison is not so bad. All right. Very rambly there. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about the midterms a bit. This is going to be probably an hour. I'm keeping it here. We're doing Monday night. I did work today again. It's weird that like when you don't have a job for a while and you get one, you're like, oh, I worked again. Nice. Most people do that as a matter of routine. It's not like a surprise. So I'm squeezing the podcast in here on a Monday. I should do it on Sundays, but I was busy doing other things, some animation, but also I've become addicted to Red Dead Redemption 2, thanks to the generosity of my roommate who lets me play it. So I'm playing it. Wow. Oh, man, what a game. We could talk about that later maybe if I somehow meander my way back to it. But we're going to talk about Trump in the rain. He's having trouble. I know a lot of people are judging Donald for being scared of rain and refusing to do very simple, the lowest possible expectation of a president is to attend war memorial ceremonies. He won't do that because of rain, and I get it. Obviously, people who criticize Trump have never had a little bit of water on their shoulder. You get water on your shoulder, it's trouble. Although his hair is made of cotton candy, so I think that's honestly, I really do believe it's about his fucking hair. All right, we're going to talk about that. I'm well to say I've already gotten to the part where I say it's about his hair. I will bring it up. And some Pelosi stuff, now that she is going to be, you're going to be seeing her in the news quite a bit more now that she is the new Paul Ryan. Her eyes are slightly less dead, but those eyes of hers aren't dead like his are. He has no heart, no soul. I think hers are dead from only seeing corporate money and from within the bubble of power and privilege that she's enjoyed for the last 40, 50, 60 years or whatever the fuck it is, several hundred years since she was back. Okay, all right. But the age thing is my least biggest problem with Pelosi. It's mostly her life of corruption. Hey, oh, it's not fair. It's not. She just no. If you take corporate money, you're trading a service for money. You're giving something for something. Corporations don't give money to politicians because they're expressing themselves. It's not an act of decency. It's a purchase. And Nancy Pelosi's famous for being very good at raising money. Not only for herself, but as a leadership position, she uses that money to spread around within the Democratic caucus. And she has a lot of power over who gets reelected. Not that she decides it, but she can help fund races. She can divert resources, direct resources in certain directions, and direct resources in certain directions. That's some good English there. So anyway, I'm already jumping ahead to the part where I just talk about how she's just corrupt. We don't need another fucking corrupt Democrat running things. I define corruption rather widely. Maybe that's why it might seem weird to say she's corrupt. If you take money from corporations and you do favors for them in exchange for that money, which is literally the reason they give you the money, that's corruption. We need to work that back. There's an Overton window on corruption, on the idea. In America, we've legalized it where it seems weird not to be corrupt. So it's fucked up, and we don't need to. All right. Oh, we're going to talk about the Jim Acosta situation. That's the confrontation Trump had with him. Confrontation implies that there was some sort of proper dispute. It was just more insanity from this fucking fascist maniac that runs our country somehow. Or maybe that's not even the right way to describe what the president does. I think I actually heard Trump say. Yeah, he does say that to Jim. I think I have an audio of that where he says, "You let me run the country. You let you run CNN." Or we'll hear it, but it's as dumb as one of the funny things I noticed over these 2 years is like when, and I don't have an example queued up here, but when people paraphrase Trump, they make him sound smarter because you have to. You're talking to someone, you're paraphrasing to an audience, either an individual or a group, or maybe you're writing, or maybe it's audio, and you respect the people you're talking to, so you try to help them understand by using clear language. And when you relay a Trump message, it's very difficult to capture the tone that he's capable of conveying. So he benefits from being constantly rewritten. Because quoting him, we all sound like psychopaths. I mean, obviously he gets directly quoted too, as he should. But it's not like you have to. We should have to dumb down a president's language in a better world, not simplify and clarify and give it a kind of comprehensible pass. Is this even in the ballpark, or then we have to interpret it? Like but it just drives me fucking crazy because it's like if the sewer vent farted and we're like, oh gee, the sewer vent was the president. So obviously the sewer vent's looking for some making some movie. I have as much respect for a sewer vent fart as I do for Trump. I have more, honestly, because sewer vent farts are funny, and I think they like dogs. Trump doesn't like dogs. Who doesn't like dogs? I get if you don't like dogs, if you got bit. That makes sense. I got bit by dogs probably more than once. No, yeah, more than once. Still like them. They because I can win staring contests with dogs. That's why I like them, because I can dominate them. No, I'm just like that. Cats don't give it. They don't even. You can't tell they're even looking at you. They know you're an animal, but that's about it. I love cats too. All right, what am I doing? I'm making friends with the iguana at the Young Turks. Haven't started doing anything for it yet, but I keep walking by and I go, "Hey, buddy, there's an iguana at the Young Turks, guys. His name is Mayor Iguana." He showed up one day. They found him outside, like abandoned. He was an abandoned little iguana, I think. I don't think iguanas run around LA. I mean, we have lizards and stuff in Southern California. I don't think there's any iguanas. So anyway, whatever. Blah blah blah. I might Google lizard care pretty soon, and then Melania and I will have something in common. Don't sleep next to them at night, right? Do you think they share a bed? I don't really want to think about it. It's hard not to. My favorite thing about Melania is just imagining her watching him eat. Just like he's just like, plowing fucking chicken skins into his fat chicken skin hole. And she's sitting across the table just watching, eyes glancing down at every bite, watching his shiny fingernails lift that shit up into his mouth, his disgusting, glistening chin, mixing with the paint on his face, dripping down into the gaping maw of the empty Diet Coke cans that are collecting below his chin. And she watches with anticipation of every bite, thinking, "You're supposed to die 15 years ago, motherfucker. Jesus." Or no, like, "You're supposed to die 2 years after Barron was born, bitch." You get the kid, and then you get I mean, she would have been fine if she hadn't had the kid. I'm not saying that was the plan, nor am I impugning her motives. But I really don't care. Do you? Oh, mic drop. Ow. I just smashed I squeezed it. I smacked. Okay. Like when a video game character destroys a pineapple with two hands. That's what I did to the mic. Sorry about that. I'll fix that in post. All right. So Melania wants Trump to die. That's obvious. But, You don't marry a guy like that and be like, oh, I hope he lives to 100 when you're 28, 35 years. He's as old as her parents. He's like 9 months younger than her. Both her parents were both like 9 months older than Trump. It's fucking nuts. Again, waste of time. I'm, one of the, okay. All right. Well, so email me, winnersandloserspodcast@gmail.com. Winnersandlosershow.com is our website. I haven't really, I changed the colors and shit, but I haven't added episode, whatever. Just so you know, bookmark it, put it on there. And go to YouTube, look in the description for the YouTube link. Subscribe, even if you're not a YouTube person. I need the subscriptions to get to 100, and then I can rename it. So that's a big help. And leave reviews, iTunes, click shit, fucking donate, click stuff. Just click. Just click on it. That's all we do, right? Everything about that? It's life. These weird modern computer jobs we all have. We just sit at desks while our organs turn into macaroni and fucking move our hands around. Our right hand gets a little more exercise than our left because we got to go to the mouse. Yeah, I sit. And then you die. Old and arthritic, worn out from a life of not being worn out. It's supposed to be tiring. Life's supposed to be, squatting down a lot, picking up stuff, walking around. Our bodies are meant for it. That's why we benefit from exercise. Otherwise, we wouldn't benefit from exercise if exercise was bad for us. Wait, that's okay. All right, now I'm like degrading in my logic. Anyway, good start to the show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Let's talk about the election. Tuesday, a week has gone by since November 6th. I watched it all go down from the Young Turks. I worked a late day that one. It was a 12-hour day, and interesting place to experience an election, which I have done once before. If my timing, I don't know, probably, maybe not. It wasn't like it was any more commotion, if you're imagining that. It's not like a bunch of people rushing about, like when the stock market sell, none of that shit. But, a little more intense than usual. Everybody there seems to care a lot. They catered food because it was a long day, which was great. I love that. Got some of that tzatziki sauce. That's the best part of the election. But I wasn't able to really monitor the beat by beat by beat. So my report here is more just about kind of the emotion of that day and kind of what I observed. And I was watching Young Turks on the stream when I could. I can't pay that close attention. And I just kind of keeping tabs on other things. And it wasn't feeling good, though. It wasn't kind of like, we were all kind of, I think, looking for some relief on Tuesday. Like the day of. We were also desperate. We want any sign that this abusive relationship we're in is going to improve, which we obviously want to end it and completely move on and set up systems so we never have to be in this kind of thing again. But we're also just kind of hoping that he doesn't beat us when he gets home. That kind of like, just on a short-term basis. Just, oh, my God, it's so fucking stressful. Just fucking crash into a stoplight on your way home. Weird metaphor to like insist on too. So it didn't feel great. There were some early signs that turnout was high. Early voting results are coming in, but it was coming in pretty high on both sides, from what I remember. I mean, left and right. That is a case where turnout, where both sides was all right to talk about, like where elections, both sides seem pretty enthusiastic. Fortunately, now that it's all shaken out, Democrats turned out more people, and we have to overcome the institutional bias of how the Senate, occupies so much more of their political power than they deserve because their populations are so low, and just like all the gerrymandering and the insanity of having secretaries of state run their own elections when those guys are running for other offices, like Brian Kemp, the guy in Georgia running against Stacey Abrams. That race has not yet been called. And then the another high top example is Chris Kobach in Kansas, who lost his bid for governor, which was a big deal. That was so during the day, things don't really start becoming. You don't get any calls until media organizations do so, until polls close and they start counts and things start coming in, and the scorekeeping sort of begins in earnest around 5-6 p.m. Pacific time or so. But we saw some early disappointments. I don't know how. Yeah, it was pretty obvious Beto wasn't going to win. The top races that I talked about last week were the Gillum race for governor in Florida and Stacey Abrams in Georgia. Both very high profile. Both had captured a lot of the spotlight of the press leading up to the midterms, and so I think they both lost. Well, actually, rewind. Both seemed to lose on election day, but there's a lot of extra ballots that weren't counted. It's fucking nuts that we announce elections in haste on election night, as if waiting a couple days or as if doing a proper, thorough, verified count is an impediment to democracy. Like what? So what? Why are we in a hurry? What's the rush? We have a big, complicated system that's filled with incompetence and flaws and people who might not know what they're doing and nefariously motivated political actors. Weird phrasing there. Yet we force the media see. I think it's just the short attention span mindset of the media. We got to get the results. It's a dramatic day. Let's have a dramatic weekend. But anyway, in Florida and Georgia, I don't have all the beats figured out here for you to relay, but you can obviously Google it. Great podcast. Google it. But those have not yet been decided. It's looking like there's some hope for the Democrats on this side, but there's also a bunch of court shenanigans and recounts. There's like certain states have triggers that automatic triggers recounts if the difference is under 0.5% or 0.25%. And so sometimes there's thresholds for hand recounts, there's thresholds for automatic recounts, and then it turns into a weird mess. But get back to that in a second. We also lost Beto O'Rourke. May he rest in his probably decent bed. And do you think he seems like a guy who wears just plain old white boxers? Because he's thin. You know, you can pull that move off when you're thin. Me, when I wear white boxers, I just look like I stole someone's diapers. By the way, steal diapers before they're used. Little tip from Uncle Hank to the rest of you. So anyway, Beto O'Rourke lost. He lost by 3 points, I think, which is an incredible achievement, which is not at all an achievement because he's not the senator from Texas. But there was no, if certainly no corporate Democrat would have gotten anywhere near that amount. Beto O'Rourke is I believe, is a Justice Democrat. He doesn't take corporate PAC money. He's not as progressive as I'd like to see, but he hits a lot of the right notes. He's definitely got a bright future in Democratic politics. Hopefully he's able to resist the pull of the one ring to rule them all, the evil influence of money that can completely corrupt you. Tom Daschle was my hero. I grew up. I was a Daschle ding dong. That's what we called ourselves, the Daschle, community meetup groups, or the Daschle ding dongs. No, I joke. But Daschle was a Democratic leader. I think he was a senator. But he was super corrupt. Just lobbyist and fucking corruption. Just a great example of like a career in politics where you just cash out and make a bunch of money. So why did that come up? I don't know. So Beto O'Rourke lost by 3 points, but he. Certainly, I've heard that the case made, and I agree with this, that he brought a lot of energy to the down-ballot vote elections because Senate's a statewide race. And so district by district, Beto probably had a really substantial influence on the Democratic turnout in Texas, which helped a lot of candidates there. For a guy, Texas is fucking hardcore Republican. These are people, Ted Cruz just won an election in Texas. These people do not fuck around with their weenie, cowardly ass little piece of shit Republicans that they like to vote for. Ted Cruz? This guy? I gotta imagine a lot of Texas Republicans aren't thrilled that it's Ted Cruz, but he's not. He's a Republican, not a Democrat. They don't vote for Democrats because they might force my boss to give me health care. Wouldn't want that. One of these fucking socialists might make it so I only have to work 4 days a week, not 3. There. Evil. Oh, no. So I don't know what they're upset about. Yeah, it's like, okay. The Bible's for abortion. So there's a lot of work to be done to make Texas a blue state, but it's trending blue. It's trending towards purple. Probably already in some ways is considered a purple state, but it's unlikely that they're going to hang on to that. There's a lot of Latin voters there. Not that all Latin voters vote Democrat. Quite, in fact, it's one of the more surprising things is something like 30+% vote Republican and vote for Trump. And I don't know if I should be throwing out numbers. I can't cite a source for that quote or for that number right there. But I just recall being shocked by like, wait, what? Like that kind of thing. Like, huh? It's more than zero? What the fuck? So I think there's a strong future for Texas. I think there's a strong future for anywhere where people have access to information, meaning they can look stuff up. The thing we need to do, one of the things we need to do more than anything is to stop trusting news, meaning not question every single thing you ever read or hear, but the older generation who trusts television news, who just whatever they hear on TV is like that's what's happening, because they can't really conceive of the idea that they're being manipulated or that someone would use this powerful medium to spread propaganda. It doesn't occur to them that there's bias, and I don't know. I obviously I'm speaking in generalities, but because obviously not every old person trusts what they see. But trusting the news without or at least without the second step, which millennials and the what's the generation before? What do they call them? Pokemon-millennials? I'm so fucking out of touch. I have no idea. But millennials we're done making new ones, right? Like, isn't the cutoff like 18 and it just keeps whatever? I mean, arbitrary cutoffs are kind of for between generations a little bit, but there is sort of a lines of demarcation that we can kind of track a little bit. But younger generations tend not to just believe everything. We'll look stuff up. Oh, yeah, I heard that claim. I'll go check it out on Google. I'll read other articles. I'll look for corroborating evidence. Not that everybody turns into a detective every night when they watch, Diane Sawyer read the news to them. Is she still active? Is she still up? I like that. I like thinking of her as active as like she's Jason Bourne or something. Like, oh, has she been? She's out there in some Spanish villa in some remote countryside, waiting for the message to start doing the news again, just like Ted Koppel. But yeah, I know, I'm old. I can't think of that other guy, the guy with the big long face, but he's very handsome no matter what. He looks like he's made out of granite. He looks like if you stretched out Tom, what's his name, Sam Donaldson. They're all kind of the same person. But so older people listen to what they hear, and then all the medication they're on makes their brains not work. So they are voting Republican these days, voting against their own interests all the time. It's more just about how information is processed by the masses, and it's good. It's horrible as the internet is for misinformation. It's a tool for information, for fact checking, and it's just weird. I mean, we're just not meant for this. Even like, okay, we'll talk about Red Dead Redemption, not really, but it's grounded in. I don't know. I wasn't around back then in the late 1800s, but they're letters. They use letters. They have written in newspapers. Also kind of similar to what I was saying about the Post in a previous episode, how people just used to read what was in the newspaper and letters. It took like 3 months to have a conversation if you weren't next to somebody. You sent them a letter, and then a couple weeks went by, 2 or 3 weeks, you get one back. And if you're really in a hurry, you send them one, and some pony takes it to them. The mail system deserves a lot of praise. I think we should build the next thing on Mount Rushmore should be a mailbox. I'm not even joking around. That'd be fucking great. We should be celebrating valuable public institutions that serve everybody like that. So it's a good model for other things. And not necessarily meaning like the ins and outs, the day-to-day gears of it are a model, but a valued public institution that, like libraries. If we'd propose, and it's not my original thought here, but people often point to libraries as an example of something that if you'd presented that idea today and it didn't exist, it would be immediately shot down. A government-funded community center filled with books and other resources, library, like newspaper archives and internet access and computer access, videos and stuff, that's free. Now, it's not totally free. There's some, it's taxes here and there, and there's a blah, but there's no way that would be a thing that anyone would agree to. We can't even get anybody to agree on breathable fucking air. Bridges collapse all the time, or fail to meet their inspections and safety records and stuff like that. We would never do a library, or even the post office who'd presented that at this point. So I don't know why I'm rambling about this, but so anyway, the election was going on. Honestly, I'm gonna skip most of the shit I get to. I have ribs cooking in the oven, by the way, and can't wait to turn them into poop. Gonna be a good week. But so the election was going on. I do recall the mood at TYT, and I saw this reflected online too. It was just sort of, and I'm not saying this as of any of the hosts. I wasn't in the studio. We don't have a bunch of editors' desks there. It was just more like the immediate surrounding of me, and just kind of the general pall of the place, and of just So I'm not speaking on behalf of any of the online hosts or on-air hosts, I would say. But there was this. I felt very anxious. I felt very on edge, nervous, kind of not acute nervousness, but just kind of waiting for this either to get really bad or sort of the disappointment that it wasn't maybe as good as we were hoping. And it seemed to be consensus around this idea that the Democrats were underperforming expectations. Gillum and Stacey Abrams, we had invested a lot of, I think overall, people invested a lot of emotional energy into those races, and Beto O'Rourke as well. And those three not shaking out with strong wins or clear wins was pretty deflating. I think that because we had overloaded those races, and they deserved the attention they got in a way too. The racial dynamics at play in Georgia. I mean, how amazing would it be to have a black woman governor in Georgia and a black man governor in Florida. I mean, it would have been so great to see those two fucking racist pieces of shit, Brian Kemp and Ron DeSantis, walk away, and they still might. So we're still pulling for it. But on the day of, it seemed like they were done deals, and then Beto was a done deal, and Ojeda lost. Richard Ojeda, who is the guy from West Virginia, and he, it seemed like he had a good shot. He was featured in Michael Moore's movie. I know the Young Turks are a big fan of him. In fact, I edited a video, an interview with him, and he didn't win. I really thought he had a good shot. I didn't know what the polls were, but he lost like 50-something to 42%. I mean, deep cold country West Virginia, but he's a very authentic guy. He seems almost impossible to attack. Like he was literally attacked, by the way, when he first got into politics. I don't know how many years ago, but he's a veteran. He's this like kind of burly, short guy, but he's a real tough dude. I wouldn't mess with him at all. He's quite intimidating, but he's forceful. And but he was attacked. Someone hit him from behind, knocked him out, and so that's part of his political story. Talking about, but yeah, he doesn't really back down, and unfortunately he didn't win. But now today, he is running for president. He's announced it. Not sure how I feel about that. A little part of me is kind of resentful of these I don't know, not outsider. I want outsiders in president. So this is a minority of my feelings, meaning like less than 50%. But yeah, it's just like, and I don't want to equate him to Michael Avenatti. And he'll probably raise his profile nationally. I'd be very surprised if he gets anywhere near the front of the pack. But man, look who's president now. I'm not, and that doesn't even mean to compare. I would love it if Ojeda were president compared to Trump. He's not as progressive. I mean, he's from coal country, but he speaks very powerfully about worker rights and about coal miners and about how the country left his community behind and a lot of that stuff. But he also takes positions that are designed to appeal to, more right-leaning people in the rural West Virginia. So that's not such a bad thing. It's just that you would be you aren't going to get the same kind of progressivism out of a guy from West Virginia as you will out of someone from Seattle, so to speak. And that's fine. It's okay to have a range. It's probably a healthy thing. So he is running. We'll see. His first one, 2020, already going. Good 2-year-long campaign. It's more than 2 years. People start doing shit for their presidential campaigns long before the 2-year mark. And that's one of the systems of, let's not say oppression or corruption so much as it's just stupid and degrades the effectiveness of our government. They should be working. They should be legislating. They should be doing their jobs. And I know it's a public thing because they're influencing public policy and public money and public resources. So it's sort of always a campaign. But how about we just leave out the fucking media blitz and the TV ads and the printing shit? It should be very strict. Like, you don't talk about... I'm for very short elections. Like, presidential election, and maybe it's naive, maybe there's reasons why it needs to be longer, should be like 3 months. Why do you got to start before September or August? August 1st, presidential election. Off year, midterm election years where there's no presidency on the line. Wait another month. You know? What the hell? Why are we doing 2-year? Okay, there's a lot more to... It's just disgusting. It's just disgusting the way that I mean, they're corporate funded campaigns, and so they're always corporate fundraising. Never stops. Why stop the corruption when this is how it works? And so these permanent campaigns are a way to keep corruption going all year long, even on years when there isn't an election. And so we end up with this society that serves the interests of the very few over the interests of the many, and that's what we have now. And the many are starting to get pissed off, and slowly, as groups of the many identify who's at fault, meaning either they figure it out themselves. I always intuitively looked towards powerful people to try to understand why they do what they do and why and who to blame. I tend to look at someone with less power than me, but just less power in general, and not blame them for my problems, which is what the Republicans want their voters and supporters to do. They want to blame brown people. They want to blame poor people. They want to blame people at the lowest levels of society, which are refugees, migrants fleeing violence and corruption in their own countries and looking for a better world, a better life. They blame them. I mean, you know, Trump sent the military down there. And of course, there's very little discussion about the caravan at all these days. It's not coming up anymore. Just something to do to scare their voters into showing up. And a lot of them did show up because they're afraid of men and women with children in strollers who are desperate and hungry, thirsty, scared, tired, and could probably use a fucking hug and a goddamn welcoming arm to a country with tons of land and tons of opportunity and tons of money and tons of need for their hard work. They're people. Let them in. Let them in. Let them in. Let that sink in, everybody. I have ideas for an animation, but it's just a plumbing joke. It's not even that line you see on Twitter. They let that sink in. People like to. I think it's only useful when there's somebody delivering a sink to your front door. Why am I talking about this? So it wasn't a horrible, disappointing day on the election, but it did feel less. It wasn't something to celebrate. And that's probably the appropriate reaction. Honestly, too much celebrating would have been weird. There's no reason to. You don't celebrate. This is like in the equivalent of like we're battling a murder clown, and we just got like a good punch across the nose, you know, and it went honk honk, and you know, or wicku wicku wicku. You know, we kicked him in the nuts, and it went. A little seltzer squirted out of his flower on his lapel, but the clown is in the middle of reaching for a giant blender with no cap, with the glass broken, and he's going to jam it into our throats and turn on the blender. And so that's what Trump's next move is going to be. I'm saying we're in a tough fight here with the fucking crazy clown, and the clown's going to get scared and desperate, and it's going to get weird, which we're already seeing with the firing of Jeff Sessions. This is something that's been brewing for a long time. Trump's been threatening to do this in order to. He's always gone after. It's just such insanity about like presidents aren't supposed. They're supposed to barely communicate with their attorney generals. They're supposed to maintain a distance. And of course, Sessions did do the right thing when he was named attorney general in recusing himself from the Russia investigation because he was involved in Trump's campaign. I think he was a co-campaign chair or something. Oh, shit. Oh, that's my rib timer. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Hey, guys. Ribs looking good. Coming along beautifully. They're toasting up. The oven's making noises, which you like to see. They're currently clocking in at about 170 degrees. I'm going to yank those puppies out around 195. That's where I like to cook ribs, too, for a safe temperature. The actual safe temperature for pork is around 140, 150 to make sure the bacteria is dead. But ribs, and one nice thing about cooking pork is it's very forgiving. It'll let you beat it up a little bit with too much heat. And actually, I prefer it at a higher temperature. It's when the meat starts to become a little easier to chew and separates from the bones. Great. Great. I just really like probably like vegetarians and vegans and stuff. I mean, if this podcast ever gets big and I get a big liberal audience, there's probably a higher percentage statistically of vegans and vegetarians and stuff and people who get uncomfortable with detailed meat discussions. But that's okay. You know what? We all eat. I eat a lot. Yeah, okay. I can get into it. Point is, I know what I'm doing. By the way, anybody, trick to meat is don't use time, use temperature. Get a digital probe thermometer. It's wonderful. So Jeff Sessions is gone, replaced with this fuckface Matt Whitaker, this bald piece of shit, making us bald people embarrassed. Fucking, god damn it, fucking skinheads. And I'm not saying that guy's a skinhead. He's just, okay, I just did suggest that with my hesitations right there, but didn't mean. I'm just saying, as a bald person, not doing us any favors. Okay, skinheads, pieces of shit who work for Trump. That bald guy that was his bodyguard. By the way, there's plenty of bald dudes, on the left. It's fine. It's fine. I'll bring it up at the next meeting, which we have indoors for obvious reasons. Bald jokes. A little part of me dies every time. Just like the hairs I lost when I was becoming one of the... Okay, so Matt Whitaker is horrible. He has no business being in government. He's a former U.S. attorney. I think he's currently being investigated for criminal businesses. I'm not sure this one's being investigated, but I know he was involved in some patent invention scam company that markets inventions. Like, you've seen these maybe late at night on TV where it's like, you've got good ideas. Well, don't just keep them in your head. Put them down on paper and bring them to us. We'll help you market your invention idea. Blah, blah. And I'm sure there's some sort of thing because we're all inventors. I don't know anybody who hasn't thought about something that could put the toilet seat down on its own. I just think instead of that, we should just have like a little voice on the toilet that reminds you, just nags you about it. Hey, fuckface, put it down. You know how horrible it is to put my lady butt into that whole thing? That is a man-woman thing, right? Is it, put the toilet seat down, but I'm just going to have to put it back up. No, I always try to honor the put it down request. I think it's fair. I get it. I've sat on a toilet where the seat was up and not realizing, you're in a hurry to, let the bombs loose, and boom, and all of a sudden the world becomes real uncomfortable real quick when you put your butt down into a toilet, especially if you live the kind of life I do where the cleaning person doesn't do a good job or frequent job, and that cleaning person is me. So nothing like a big mustache of pubes coming up with you. No, it's not. I don't let it get that bad. I don't let the pubes grow to the point where, but the seats, it's a funky place. Okay, why am I talking about this? I should get back to talking about something. It's funny, I like talking about toilet is like far less gross than Trump, than that horrifying, stupid weirdo. So, Sessions is out. There's going to be some big commotions surrounding Mueller. None of the behavior of Trump is the behavior of an innocent person who has a record that's above reproach, and who, he is awash in mafia connections, criminal behavior, tax scams, starting with his fucking father. Trump's defense, his best defense is, I was a kid. I was a toddler when I started my life of crime. I was a beautiful toddler. He's been laundering money for shady oligarchs for decades. for Russians, for Saudi Arabians, for all kinds of shenanigans with Ivanka and this. Jerome Corsi, is that right? Something Corsi. Sorry, forgetting. I just feel like there's a senator named Jerome. But this guy, he's an associate of Roger Stone, who is one of these Republican hatchet men, fuckface operative guys. And so this Corsi guy has come out saying he expects to be indicted any day. So it's always good when those happen. I mean, at least from a news perspective, it's an interesting day. But I just want to see this noose tighten more and more around Trump. And because hopefully it ends with that guy in handcuffs being let out of the White House. Wouldn't that be lovely? Let's just sit with that for a moment. Oh, man. Yeah, climbing to that helicopter in handcuffs, you fuckface. He's going to escape, though. Somehow he'll get out, or he'll rule from jail. Just because this country's so stupid, we put him in power. I just picture him in the middle cell with, like, Jared and Ivanka in another cell next to him, and then the two boys, Eric and Dumbfuck, in another cell next to him. But, like, they're all gross and slimy, and they're wearing, like, prison suits, but they're like a suit made out of prison smocks or whatever they wear in prison, those onesies. But it's a suit. But Trump's in the middle just barking orders. He's got a really mean panther with him for some reason, maybe some weird totem pole. I don't know why. I just feel like that reminds me of cigars because they put totem poles outside cigar shops, and I just think Trump stinks. He smells like hairspray is what that guy smells like. And then he's running us from prison. It'll just be that guy. There's such an absurdity going on in this country. Like what I just described is plausible. None of us expected this shit to happen. So we'll see. Maybe that prediction won't come true. I'm betting against it. So the election was sort of a deflated. It's like a party where the power went out. Like, oh, we're all here, but we can't check Instagram and show each other pictures of our vaginas and our penises, whatever you do at parties. I haven't been out much lately, and but yeah, it's a party. So, but then the days go by, and it's been kind of we've trickling in some late results with all the different races. Some, not all of them, do come in on the night of the election, and also just sort of from the columnist sphere out there, the consensus seems to be, I agree with this, it was actually a pretty good day for Democrats. We lost the big ones that we kind of invested in, but that sort of obscured our ability to sense the rest of it and how good it was. There's still a recount in Arizona too that's going on right now, but a lot of what's her name? Oh, Amy Spamberger. So she had a great video. I should have the audio. I wasn't planning. It just popping in my head right now, but she strong rebuttal because her opponent kept referring to her as Nancy Pelosi. She got pissed off. She gave like a really great little screamy, not a bad screamy, but just like a loud, yeah, no, and then she answered it with, "My name is Amy Spamberger." It was a solid moment. That's one of the highlights for me. She won. Scott Walker's out. He's of the governorship in Wisconsin. He's a fucking nightmare. I think he's replaced by a guy named Evers. Is that correct? Let's see. Kobach lost in Kansas. That's a huge deal. He was actually appointed by Trump recently, like a year or two ago, to head up this voter fraud commission. To try to. I mean, the intention was to suppress votes nationally and to roll out those types of efforts. He's a horrible guy. He lost his bid for governorship. There's just a lot of good. Dana Rohrabacher, who's this California senator or a congressperson. He is gone. He lost after a few days of recount stuff, and so that's fantastic. So there's a lot of good ups. Democrats held like 6 governorships and picked up 7, I think, and gained control of the House. We lost ground in the Senate by, I think, 2 or 3 seats, which is not good. But it was a difficult map for Democrats this particular year. 1/3 of the Senate runs for office every 2 years. And the next 2 rounds, from what I've heard, are much more in favor for Democrats. So we held on this year. Of course, the Democratic Party ran a lot of Republican light losers, a bunch of corporate like Joe Donnelly, these just like pieces of crap that suck. And so, they lost. You put up these neoliberal, shitty ass, standard middle of the road, build bridges to the 21st century type Republicans, easy mistake to make, type Democrats who take corporate money, who just follow the standard playbook that is fed to them by their expensive corporate consultants or campaign consultants, and they lose. Because why would you pick Republican light when you have Republican full with proper sugar, Coca-Cola reference, right over there? That's the guy promising to put Nazis in charge and murder every dog he sees. No, they're not. They're getting there eventually. I don't know. But I think one component, and this is just bullshit, I mean, it's just because it's about emotions and stuff, but my sense of kind of why Tuesday felt deflated, or why we weren't really able to perceive the positivity, this took me a few days to kind of figure out, and this is sort of just how I feel and processing my own responses and reactions. The Republicans got a lot of votes, and in a way, it was in terms of turnout, it was the highest turnout of any midterm, I think, ever. But it could be perhaps in the last 25 years, based like a percentage base, because population increases over decades. But very high turnout for a midterm. Good sign. High turnout among millennials and younger people. Great sign. We want to see a lot more of that. And it's more than likely, it's just how it goes in America. A lot of people just aren't checked in for the midterms, even in this era, where it seems like you can't escape this stuff. But a lot of people just are doing their thing. It's never been a thing in their life, but they do vote in the presidential election. So it's a pretty safe bet that this next presidential election, the new most important election of our lifetime, will be an enormous turnout. But so that's a positive of it. But I think one of the reasons why, on the liberal side, at least I'm not speaking for everybody, but from my perspective and this progressive angle or socialist angle, or whatever, those words are all kind of blended together for me. I don't like words are prisons. Words are definitions. They come with definitions, and some words come with your definition. Meaning, like, that's a different rant about other stuff. Like the word disease carries lots of definitions that people like to throw around, and I don't have any particular strong feelings either way. But like they're approximations of concepts. Some are more clear than others, but I don't. And especially in politics, there's a lot of vagaries, there's a lot of nuance, and there should be new information and change. So people using words locks you in. But anyway, that's okay. We do need words. Wouldn't have a podcast without them. So anyway, all right. My sense was that because it's almost hard to believe this is happening, this Republican fascistic takeover with Trump, with this weird maniac, this goofy's a nice thing. This just evil, horrible. I don't really. It's evil. It's another word. It's like whatever. But I think if anybody's evil, it's Trump. But again, I don't like describing opposition sides as evil because I don't want to dehumanize people. That's part of democratic strength and weakness, is in my opinion. And like I see humanity in people. I saw fucking Ted Cruz in person. I was like, oh, I hate him slightly less because he's a person. Fuck, look at him, fucking person with his shitty ass nose. But I'm not sure what I'm running about. But so it's just sort of like when Bush won re-election. That was really bad. That felt almost worse than the stolen election from Gore, because it was like we made a mistake. Like because it's like your second chance. And so part of us, I think, and this is why the Trump thing, or this Tuesday election, last Tuesday, November 6th, hit a little hard. It was the death of the hope that it was all just a mistake and that we'd all come to our senses, even on the right. Like that. Oh, whoa, this wasn't what we wanted. Wow, because the guy had no record publicly as a real politician. He'd been involved in politics and involved publicly for a very long time. We knew who he was, kind of, because he has held every position ever, but also it was obvious he's just this racist maniac, megalomaniac, narcissistic fuckface. So how that's not clear to everybody, I don't understand. But we made a mistake, and then we were hoping, I think the hope was sort of that it can't possibly have been watching what's going on in the last 2 years and think to yourself, more of this, please. But we got a lot of people who showed up and said, more of this, please. And Or, I mean, people vote for different reasons. A lot of it is just they hate the Democrats. That the anti-Democrat propaganda has been extremely effective, and the Democrats have been terrible at counterbalancing it because we've been led by, mealy-mouthed fuckfaces like Pelosi and Schumer and Wasserman Schultz and Clinton and Obama. I mean, Obama has a lot of gifts, but he could have done a much stronger job, a much better job of standing up for Democrats and for pushing for expansion and for that's a topic that will be dissected for centuries. But when Trump it follows you up, and then meaning, and it's not that Trump is directly attributed to Obama in terms of it being Obama's fault, but the people chose Trump, or in a system. They didn't choose him. That's why it's complicated, because Hillary, 3 million more people wanted Hillary, but because of our fucked up electoral college and all this nonsense. But it's a sign that your nation has severe psychological issues if it at all thinks someone like Trump should be president. More than 5% of the people. There's always, small percentage of just complete nut jobs. Oh, man, it's just so weird. So it just seemed kind of like, oh, this is real. You people did vote for Pennywise, and you came back for more Pennywise. Don't you see all the children hovering above the swamp hole, his lair? Come on. Get out of the sewers, Republicans. Jesus Christ. Fucking took you all you people 6 years to figure out Iraq was bullshit. Yeah, we knew that before. Join the side of history that can tell when people are bad and shouldn't be given power. Because eventually, the reason why Iraq, it just went shitty right away. But it took about 5 or 6 years for, conservatives, like my father, his friends, and I know that a lot of conservatives eventually were, oh, yeah, that wasn't, even those who got to, who helped get us there, like the pundit class, these David Frums and Bill Kristols and George Wills, who eventually realized it was you don't get to be wrong about war. That's one thing that pisses me off, is that we look at war as oh yeah, I should have used my turn signal. Sorry, didn't mean to run over your dog. Dogs always honor turn signals when they're in the lane next to you. That's stupid. But it's not. And I went with the running over a dog there because it's that's a bad you'd feel pretty bad. I would feel bad. I ran over a rabbit once, and it wasn't even someone's rabbit. It'd be horrible if it was on a leash, like some little girl's holding it. It was. I felt sad. I've never hit a dog, thank God. I feel like that's the worst one. Cat, close second. I would feel worse if I hit a dog than I would if I hit a cat. All right. Strange topic there. I'll save that for first dates, but that's just such a stock joke. So the it just was kind of oh man, they really are okay with concentration camps and with just giving billionaires more money as much as you possibly can, and with constant manipulation via social media, and making the liberals upset is a goal in and of itself, and the corruption that's completely built into a guy who has all these business interests throughout the world, in real estate and in branding and marketing, and how he's using it constantly. And a lot of this information doesn't disseminate to those people, and that's why I brought up Iraq, is that will there be a similar thing? And I'm hoping so. And I resent the conservative side, because we need to make progress. And you people hold us back. And we're only allowed to make progress at the speed at which people who voted for Donald Trump and George W. Bush figure out that was a mistake. You're not quite bright enough or informed enough or whatever you want to say, or you are. I'm not. It's not fair to say they're not bright. There's plenty of intelligent, smart people who are just bought into the tribalism of it, and see, or those who are uncomfortable with the way Trump is. And I'm pretty sure that I've heard, from people who've spoken with lots of Republican senators and congresspeople and higher ups that off the record, behind closed doors, they all hate Trump. They can't wait for this to be over. But in public, they get in line. They support him. They're hierarchical. And to a degree, something like that would be true on the Democratic side. That comparison breaks down pretty quickly. It's very unlikely Democrats would ever elect somebody like Trump. We always would choose someone who's weak and cowardly and corporate funded. Hopefully those days are nearing an end too. So their assessment, to whatever degree that they, it comes through their own bias and their own information filtration and interpretive filters that we all have built into the way we process the world we see around us, the information that enters our ears and eyeballs, is that he's a horrible guy, but that they can gain from this. So they're using it, and in a lot of ways, that's just pure survival. If you are a smaller politician and this weird is the most common word I use for Trump. It's just always the first thing I think of. He's just fucking weird. This weird behemoth emerges from some radioactive pool of Sunny D to destroy the world and take over the party. They're powerless to fight that, so their only option is to get in line and hope that when it all shakes out, they get away without too much Sunny D stinging their eyes. And it does sting your eyes, okay? Way more than soda, OJ, or purple stuff. Okay. So that's disgusting. You're not principled. You're just getting what you want because you know that this monster is going to help you. And then if it all shakes out and falls apart, meaning like impeachment or he dies or something, I mean, natural causes of death, if you can consider fistfuls of chicken skin from KFC natural causes. If only Melania were evil enough to be like, oh, how about I put a little poison? No, I'm not. Okay. All right. Is that okay? Am I allowed to say that? I'm just saying, like you hear about that sometimes. Like, oh, let's speed this process along a little bit. Have a little more chicken skin with your chicken skin there, dear hubby. So they're getting something out of it. So when he's gone, then they get Pence. Then they still win. Then they still have this goofball. Although I think Pence's likability is pretty low, and he doesn't have that same spell casting ability that Trump has. I believe that we could resist and fight Pence much more effectively than Trump. Although there's a good chance that the fascistic and the kind of information propaganda, emotional warfare that they conduct via just scatterbrained confusion is probably a lesson being learned by Pence, like what they're able to get away with. So last week, I got to end the show here. The ribs are almost done. I need to make sure I get them out before they get too hot. Although, you know what, like I said, if the temperatures end up over 200, I won't be too worried about it because barbecue ribs are good when they're, that's okay. You can easily overdo it, though. I wouldn't want to go much higher than 205, 210 on the temperatures. All right. So I'm not going to be able to talk about everything I'd planned. I have some Pelosi audio where she reads a Ronald Reagan quote. That was the day after the election. She came out and praised old Reagan. Here, let's just hit that real fast. And I was going to say something. Okay. All right. That'll be our, okay. Now I'm jumping around. One of the ways, just to finish this little thread of the fascism and the stuff that Pence will probably make use of, is the lying and just the straight-up gaslighting. Like with this Jim Acosta situation, that's the CNN reporter who got into it last week with Trump. Acosta was completely in the right. He was asking, he's been picked on by Trump, and he does have a bit of a more forceful disposition than other reporters, but it's more just like because of the horrible Overton window shift of what we expect from White House reporters. What Jim Acosta is should be just like a standard person, or even like he should be considered weak. All reporters should be rough on their politicians, but they all play this access game, so they have to play this pretend respect bullshit, which allows them to keep coming back and have their called on. It's an annoying thing. I get why some of that's the case. It's not like I can't human nature is I scratch your back, you scratch mine. But it's disgusting that that's such a prevalent thing within D.C. politics and Washington politics and reporters. However, so in this case, though, Jim Acosta was asking some tougher questions, and then Trump, called him rude, and it just turned into this weird mess. And that's when this young woman, I think she's an intern, I'm not sure, I hope they're paid, because everybody should be paid, reached for the microphone and she gestured up and like there was just the briefest contact between the outside of his forearm and her upper arm as she reached into his grasp towards a microphone across his body. Like it wasn't aggressive at all. He said, "Pardon me, ma'am," but they've taken away his press pass, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders has been doubling down on this position that he was committing an act of aggression and physical violence against her. They're trying to play this bullshit, and it's completely not true. They released, or I don't know, I'm sure if it was an official release or whatever, or a retweet, which if it's a government official, a high government official, it should be, a doctored video by someone from InfoWars. That's Alex Jones's operation, these goofballs, to say the least, where they had sped it up at that point. They did they doctored the footage. So now the White House is releasing doctored video footage to support their case for why they should control and ban the press. It's fucking terrifying, especially as we start entering more and more. There's a word for it. There's a video technology that's developing where you can recreate people extremely effectively. Jordan Peele did one with Obama. He does a decent Obama impression, and he's a guy from Key and Peele, director of Get Out. I really like the guy. I think he's a brilliant dude. I'm really excited to see what other movies he makes. But he did this thing where he's doing an Obama impression, and it's this video recreation, and it looks very realistic. It's a little weird, it's like but they're starting to figure out the uncanny valley and get past the uncanny valley. And at that point, we're in big trouble because there's a lot of weird you think misinformation is bad now? It'll be incredibly hard to do. I think there should be strict regulations on this technology. Honestly, like it can't be legal to just reproduce extremely realistically in voice and in appearance anybody. That's not okay. I mean, that's almost a privacy thing. In fact, that's probably the grounds on which it should be regulated, is on privacy. If you made a video of me saying terrible things, which is pretty much every video I've ever made, so I'm probably safe from this. But aren't you taking something? You're borrowing a person's likeness and their voice and their face, and that's not. I mean, maybe it's copyright, but I'm saying like it would be extremely bad, and it will be, because the incentives and the incentives are already there, but the technology will catch up to that, and we're not far away from that. So anyway, in the hands of someone like Pence and future Republican politicians and presidents, hopefully we never have another one again. It's a lot of trouble. And in Democrat, I don't want anybody to have this technology. It's not just I think Republicans will do it, but that they're doing it right now with technologies that we can detect and we can catch. And this is a weird. We're entering a lot of weird times. One reason why education should include critical thinking and media literacy, internet literacy. Just sort of basically, we just need to teach everybody to be skeptical. Like a healthy skepticism would be very good. So anyway, that's the Acosta stuff. I was going to play the audio from that, and maybe I'll save that for next week. But we've heard it a million times. I have some audio from Pelosi. It's all just this platitudes and bullshit, and it's like she's a good example of the words that sound politician-y but don't really mean anything. Like here's some.
I think Democrats come into this majority with a responsibility not to Democrat. It's not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about the United States of America. It's about the...
Oh, really? It's not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about the country.
The country that Ronald Reagan talked about, that he loved, the president said he loved.
So she refers to it as the country Ronald Reagan loves and Donald Trump loves. Like, in listening to some of this, like you can tell what she's doing is that thing of like, invoking Republican icons. Although I wonder if Trump will be. I hope we pin him on the Republicans. They deserve it. I definitely, and this is a prediction I would bet on, that we'll see Democratic leadership, especially if it's Trump or Schumer and Pelosi, doing a lot to help their Republican buddies wash their hands of Trump once it's finally okay for them to do so. This was just a period of our time where we were exposed to a lot of things about our culture. We're working on it, but don't blame Paul Ryan for that. Paul Ryan and I are friends. His kid, I know his wife Kathy. I don't know if it's Kathy or not, but they always like to name each other like their spouses. I know that he stores his eyeballs in jars of formaldehyde every night so that they're even more dead when he puts them in the morning. And, we have our differences, but we set them aside when we go to $4,000 a night sushi restaurants in D.C. I like to go to restaurant charges by the night. That's how you know you're getting a lot of food. So this is, okay, here's a little more.
We all love. We have a great obligation to honor the vision of our founders.
The founders. The vision of the founders. We need to make black people 3/5 of persons so that wealthy white landowners can maintain supremacy over this landscape and never have to do anything because their own mediocrity will prevent them from succeeding if they lived in a culture of true egalitarianism. That's what she's saying. The founders. Enough with the fucking founders. I hate that they appeal that. First of all, it's a paternalistic, patriarchal, whatever the fuck. We don't need special men from 200 years ago. Yeah, they were different than other people of the time, but it was a very unique situation of this a continent that European culture had realized that they had the technological and numbers. They could just keep pumping out people and overrun this continent. Different world, obviously, at the time. And some of the things that the founders did were radical. And I'm not an expert at it. And I feel I always get hesitant when I start wading into waters. It starts to get deep really quick for me because I don't want to. I need to read books. I should read some books about it. But my understanding is they did present the notion that of democracy as being fairly new, although obviously it wasn't. I mean, new as an emergent after all the Dark Ages and the shit with the there had been other democracies. Rome was a democracy, correct? Although there was also a slave economy. So let's not. It's funny how we would say, yeah, they were the original democracy. No, were they, or Greek or Rome, whatever? God, I sound so fucking stupid. But no, we need to tell the story to include the humanity of the people that they were victimizing. Just like America. America was an ethno-state, an apartheid state that was built on the stolen life and stolen life energy and suppression of chattel slavery. And when you see stories about the history of America, yes, obviously I don't want to ever obfuscate the slavery there, but it just seems weird to me that, I don't know, it's like the status of being deemed slave means that their story is only allowed to be told in terms of how it relates to the manipulations of the powerful. They deserve to have their humanity respected and protected and honored by changing things much faster. That's what pisses me off about it. Like, we've just been, this racism shit has got to stop. Me saying that's not going to stop anything. I know that. I'm not suggesting I'm influencing this, but the speed at which we can stop it, it's changing, is not enough. Too many lives are diminished before we make progress, or in the fight for progress. And maybe that's the best we can do as a species, but I don't believe that. I think we can do better. I'm not very necessarily an optimistic person, but I know that you have to teach hatred. You have to teach racism, and that's taught by shitty parents and electing and giving power and imbuing with enormous social and cultural influence our leaders, like Trump. That's why this is an important thing. That's why I care a lot about politics, because this shit matters. Fuck about sports. I asked the guy at my work, hey, the World Series, it's over, right? I knew the Dodgers, this was like a couple weeks ago, I knew they had played 2 games over and then they lost, I don't know, but I was like, because I had watched some of it. So yeah, he was he just rolled his eyes. I could be name dropping, but I'm not going to be the name. I will. Of course I will. Kidding me? I'm a maniac. As if that's what maniac. Yeah. Boy, you should hear this guy. Name drops constantly. What a maniac. So Pelosi's weak. She's horrible. Here's a little bit more of this.
They were so courageous in fighting for and so brilliant in presenting to us.
Okay, thanks, Pelosi. A bunch of words that don't mean fucking anything. So here's her Ronald Reagan. Here, let's just get into this a little bit. I can smell the ribs already, guys. This is really getting rough on me here.
It might surprise you to know that the president I quoted the most on the campaign trail, who would you think? Ronald Reagan.
Oh, wow. Whoa. I like how she pauses there. The mites about that. Who do you think? Huh? Who do you think? I got a good one here for you. You know, when she first did that move, she was like, "This bit's gonna work great because I'm Nancy fucking Pelosi, and they're not gonna expect a liberal San Franciscan to quote dear leader Ronald Reagan." By the way, by modern standards, Ronald Reagan would be like far left of almost any candidate. Like Bernie might be a little bit left of Reagan. So we'll do that next time. I can't do it now. I got but that's your preview. That's your tease for it. And I also was gonna play the Trump fucking bear thing. Let's just start the beginning of that here. This is just something that we're gonna talk about next week. Here's just the first few seconds of it.
Storm is coming. You cannot defeat the storm. I am the storm, the great American grizzly. Introducing the original Trumpy bear.
Okay, so. The storm. What is that? Okay, there's something to the word storm in terms of like white nationalism and Nazism. Is it Nazism? Whatever. That because you got the Daily Stormer. There's stormtroopers. It's funny that Stormy and I'm not even suggesting. I think that's on purpose. That might because Stormy is kind of a cool word. Like isn't there like an X-person named Storm? Isn't there isn't that the one Halle Berry played in the version that I remember? But is that deliberate for this? Is that sort of? I know I'm really reading into the coffee leaves here with this one, but it starts out with clouds and thunder clouds and shit, and the storm is coming. And then we have a Trumpy bear. It's just this is a SNL commercial, but apparently this aired on Fox, and it's a real thing. Maybe we'll know more about it, but I'm sure by the time I get to it next week, it'll have been already the talk of the town on podcast Town. And if you're listening to this, you're probably a listener of Podcast Town, which is not a podcast; it's a town where all the podcast lives, just like how the Grinch, Whoville. It's Whomville, idiots. So anyway, we're going to talk about that next week, this ridiculous thing. I mean, the general gist of it, if I just jump to the part where I want to say, is that they're really just stealing from their viewers as much as they fucking can. They're all just Newt Gingriching this shit. Take. Make a bunch of propaganda, make a bunch of shit, create a culture where people are so desperate for change and haven't moved past the racism injected into them by their terrible parents. And then sell them shit, sell them books, get them to watch your stupid media. And Newt Gingrich, it's fascinating. I need to do a deep dive on that. It's just got like dozens of novels and books that are just designed to just squeeze money from the people that think Newt Gingrich has any right to have a voice at all. And that's what this Trumpy bear thing is. So that's what I'm going to say next week. Thanks for listening. I appreciate all your kind words and attention, and thanks for being part of our community here. I got some guests coming up pretty soon. Some people from TYT and some others from stand-up and from comedy and stuff. It's a slow build, though. Now that I'm working full-time hours, I worked over 40 hours last 2 weeks, and that goddamn Red Dead Redemption. I'm telling you, man. Like, oh, man. It's good. It's so good. It's just fun. It's a moment. It's beautiful. There's moments of absolute peace. It's gorgeous. The music is great. The score, the acting, the voice acting is fantastic. The mechanic. There's a few glitchy little things here and there. A couple inventory things I could gripe about, but it's so immersive. You just feel like you're in that world. And then it gets really scary and violent real quick too. Like there's fights break out. Great little side missions. Cougars launch themselves at you, which is what I'm hoping to do when I start dating again. No, I'm okay. And the Panthers launch themselves at you, which is what I'm hoping to do. No, I'm just, again. I could just keep doing this. It's called improv, everybody. No, it's not. It's called improvising once and then repeating the joke format and then explaining it too much in a kind of halting, awkward manner. That is just kind of a great way to deflate a podcast. So. Okay, good. I'm going to play it a little bit after I put some ribs in my face. By the way, ribs, Rand Paul's least favorite food, for obvious reasons. Email the show, winners and losers podcast at gmail.com. And I already did that shit at the beginning, at Hank_Thompson. Look in the description. This shit's in the description. You know the deal. Thanks for listening. Tell your friends, tell your family. I appreciate your love. I just assume you love me. I don't know. Why not? I went to a party the other day. It was the first one in a long time. A little hesitant. I'm just not, my initial reaction is, party? That's not in my bedroom. Why would I go there? That's weird. It's not at my computer with my fucking internet. No, but I got past that initial resistance and went out, and then there were some hugs. It was like, I was like, whoa, human contact. Weird. It's fun. Nice time. Although I am very much like, I'd rather just have no music. Why do we have music? Turn the music off. Turn it off. Just talk to each other. Play some Enya. It's the only music I'll accept at a party. It's gentle. You can ignore it. All right. I want to walk down the aisle to Enya, and I want to go slow, like Winamp. Like a Winamp plug-in. I'll step every time there's a beat. With my dad walking down the aisle, and we're both dressed up in fish costumes. He'll be the lead singer. I'll be the bass player. Great band. Good night, everybody. See you later.